Well, good morning. Welcome to Thought for the Day. Terry was talking very thoughtfully yesterday about ageing. And then the headlines on today's papers, according to the BBC, pick up on something about ageing, where they're talking about the failure of the UK's response to COVID in the early days. One of the headlines, I think, says, "The elderly were just an afterthought." And I was thinking about those two things, Terry's comments on ageing well, and this idea that somehow in our world it's very easy for decision makers, politicians to think of the elderly, that they don't matter, they're just an afterthought. And I thought that both of these things sort of tie into maybe a wrong view of what our life is like, because I think there's a view which probably we all share it in many ways, that life is like a kind of a hill that we go up, and we get as we go through education, we get more intelligent, and we grow and get stronger and fitter, and then we gain experience. And when we talk about the prime of life, don't we? I don't know where that hits, 30, 40, 50, 55. I mean, the ages vary a bit, but we talk about the prime of life. But the idea of a prime of life is afterwards. There's a gradual decline, and so the elderly, they're over the hill. We use that phrase as well, don't we? And they don't matter. At which point, particularly if they're shut away in care homes, they can be, as was so graphically commented in those headlines, an afterthought. They don't matter. We'll look after the young and the fit. And there's lots in our society, isn't there, that sort of idolises youth and fitness, youth and sort of all the good looks you have in your early years, which fade in different ways as you get older. There's a view that's the ideal, that life is a hill that goes up and then goes down again, then goes down again. But I think a Christian view of life and aging is different, because a Christian view says actually we continue to grow, and we continue to grow in wisdom. We may not have the same physical strength, but we can continue to grow, because what we're actually doing is getting closer and closer and close, more and more like the God who is so much better than us, more and more like Jesus. We never finish that journey in this life, but it is a journey towards godliness, and that's a journey that doesn't peak and then decline. It's a journey that we can continue for the whole of our lives. And so the view that the elderly don't matter is a very wrong view. The elderly have had more years' experience. Maybe I'm starting to join them. And the potential, God's ideal, is that we grow old and we grow wiser. And so the world's view that the elderly don't matter because they're not as fit and strong, they can't appear on the glamorous TV programmes anymore in quite the same way, they can't, maybe that limits what you can do on Strictly Come Dancing when you get past a certain age, although I'm sure there's counter-examples, all the sort of things that are idolised in our world, maybe you can't do them so well when you're old. But yet there is a potential, there is real value in elderly, there is a real value in age. But I think also those of us, and I have to say us here, who are starting to get into that later part of our lives, we fall into the trap too. We too think of that gradual decline as a time when we can coast, when we don't have to do so much. We can enjoy that blissful retirement, doing all the things we want to do. And it's all about me. That's equally wrong. It is true that we can't do as much as we could do in the past. I'm aware of that. I'm very, very aware of that at the moment. There are physical limitations on me. But even though we can't do so much, we can look back. We can still grow in wisdom. We can look back and see with maybe better perspective. Terry talked about his own ageing, and if ageing is growing in wisdom, I think Terry is ageing extraordinarily well with his great ability to look back on a varied and a fascinating life and look with wisdom and perception. That's what you can do as you get older. But at the same time, it's a recognition that we can't do so much. We need to hand over some of the doing to younger people, but not to do it our way, but to celebrate that they are doing it in new ways, doing it in their way. Celebrate not just when it's our own children or grandchildren, but it's when these people who are different from us do things in different ways, and maybe not the ways that we did it when we were their age, but we can celebrate that as we look back with a right perspective that doesn't say that life revolves around me, but rather that I, as I grow older, can look in wisdom on those who are doing things and maybe growing more godly in a way that I can learn from too. So maybe we can change our view of aging, change our view of life from a peak that goes up and then down, to one that goes up in strength. And then as the strength declines, continues to go up in wisdom. So may God bless you today, and I'll talk to you again later in the week.